Welcome. I'm happy to say this is a new day and I have something special for you today. I'm going to start a new series on this channel and I'm going to call it Coffee Talk. I got my coffee and we're going to talk about certain car related topics. Some things that I like to do in my car is drive and drink coffee. And a lot of the times when I'm driving, I'm just driving to get away, driving to clear the air, and just driving to drive because I enjoy driving my car, especially spiritedly in the mountains. So I decided, why not do a Coffee Talk series? And this is going to be the first Coffee Talk series. And why not start off with the topic of Nissan and Infiniti on this topic? So let's do it. Let's start off with Nissan. We all know that there is a new Z that's on its way. And this is my thought on the new Z. First of all, I need Nissan to understand where the market is going, and I need them to stay true to their roots when they name this Z. And in my opinion, the 300Z or the 400Z will both work. The reason the 400Z will work is because the way Nissan has been naming their Zs, and it'll just work to be 400Z. Not only will 400Z work, it'll work for the Z market because anybody who knows what a Z is knows that there is a 300ZX, a 350Z, and a 370Z. So it'll only make sense to the normal consumer what the 400Z is, which is a successor to the current Z, which is the 370Z. And the reason I also say the 300Z will work is because a lot of the Z's names have been based off of the displacement of the engine. And if they're gonna put a VR30 under the hood, well, I mean, it pretty much explains that. The VR30, 3.0 liter, 300Z. So that will work as well, but that will be more confusing to the people who are not normal consumers of the Z. The people that are not in the Z market, the people who are in other markets when it comes to sports cars. But if Nissan was to come back and throw a 300Z in the name, it will confuse a lot of people. So in my opinion, both work, but 400Z will work better, even though it doesn't really follow the way Nissan has named their Zs with the displacement. But 400Z works better because of how everything kind of worked out with the Zs. And not only that, let's go before the 300Z. Before the 300ZX, there was a 280Z, 280ZX. It was a 260ZX. It was a 240Z. I mean, right? Like, it'll only make sense to go up a number. And why not go to 400? 400 is a fresh new number, and it'll spark up a new interest in a Z. Also, I really think Nissan as a company needs to communicate with Infiniti more. I think they need to work together more because there's cars that's in the Nissan lineup with better interiors than the Infiniti lineup. What's up with that? My understanding of Infiniti and Nissan is Infiniti, the premium brand, the luxury brand, should be of higher quality, of better design when it comes to exterior and interior. Like, it's their luxury brand. But when the Nissan brand, even though it's a parent company, when Nissan has better interiors than their luxury brand, that's telling me that they're not communicating well. That's telling me that they're not really working together. And that doesn't really look good for a like the big picture of the company. Overall, that doesn't look good for the company, that they're not communicating well. And on top of that, because Nissan has better interiors, what I would like to see is Nissan, Infiniti, implement this nicer interior to the Infiniti lineup. Hold on one second. I've been sitting here talking and I ain't even take a swig of my coffee. It's called coffee talk. Whew, still hot. Whew. Okay, so let's go back to the Z. Because honestly, I don't want to talk about boring cars, not on my channel. Let's talk about the Z again in the Nissan brand. And then we'll go to the Qs eventually in this talk, this coffee talk. So the Z. So if they get the VR30 in the Z, if the Z gets the VR30, this is what I'd like to see in the Z. I would love to see a manual transmission, right? That's what I want to see. But we'll see, because honestly, a lot of these sports car companies, like the purists, like Porsche, Toyota, BMW, like all of these companies that were really focused on, you know, being pure to motorsports, they have switched over to automatic transmissions. There is honestly no manual transmission option for any BMW right now. And I think Porsche has one option for manual transmission. And that they might have canceled it. You know, I might be late. They might have canceled it. But for Nissan, we're talking about a Z here. A car that's been in the $30,000 range, you know, for a little minute when it was brand new. And that's for, you know, a decently equipped Nissan, you know, Z. So for this next Z, what I'd like to see is also a manual transmission, a beautiful interior. But one thing I don't want them to change is the layout of the gauges. I love the fact that they focus on driving in the Zs by making the tachometer the biggest gauge in the gauge cluster. I think that's an important thing in a nice sports car. And for them to add a nice manual transmission to that, different final drive options. So not only will they offer just a Z, they should offer multiple levels of Zs. So I'm thinking 2 to 3 levels of Zs. Obviously, you have the Nismo that should be in that lineup, but you should also have like a base Z, and you know, and a Z that people will get over the base, but can't afford the Nismo. So what I'm thinking is, you know, the VR30 option for, you know, level 2 and level 3 Zs, right? But for that base model Z to get like a 4-liter turbocharged engine, not 4-liter, 4-cylinder. So what I would like to see is a new development of a 4-cylinder engine from Nissan. You know, that variable compression turbo engine, I wouldn't want to see that in a Z, because the majority of people who buy Zs are going to modify it. And that variable compression engine is going to give them problems. So how about we develop a new inline 4 with the turbo that's going to be for the base model. And it has to be a robust built 4-banger, because it's a Z. People are going to modify it. And the VR30 will be in the next level in a Nismo version. And obviously the Nismo version should have a boost in power. So the Nismo version, in my opinion, should be pushing roughly 475, 485 horsepower, in my opinion. And then the second level Z will be boasting 400 horsepower. That makes sense to me. What y'all think? And as far as the transmission goes, I don't mind the 7-speed, but I just wish Infiniti and Nissan will develop the 7-speed to be better than it is now. Because right now it's just kind of it works, but we don't want works. We want something that's beautiful. We want to drive something that makes us smile just by shifting gears. We want to rave about the transmission. That's how good of a transmission that we want to see in these Nissan and Infiniti sports cars. Even the GTR with the Getrag transmission don't get praise because it just doesn't work the best. Even though Nissan did not develop that transmission, it still doesn't work the best way that it should. It's a dual clutch, yeah, it's fast, but it doesn't give you the excitement of a ZF. I don't know why I brought ZF in it. Maybe because they're the freaking doggone leaders in transmission manufacturing, especially for sports cars and sports sedans. Now, design. Let's go to the design of the Z. What I would like to see for me as a design of a Z is a retro. I would like to see a retro style Z. Because the Americans, like the American companies, the big three, has also proven that retro designs worldwide, honestly. It don't even have to be in America, but retro designs worldwide, especially for their pony cars, are successful. You know, from the retro designs of the Mustang, even though the Mustang didn't really have a gap in manufacturing, the retro design of the Mustang just works well with sales. When the Challenger came back, that retro design made sales skyrocket. And not only that, they gave it more power. And the Camaro, the retro style of the Camaro made sales skyrocket as well. So what I'm trying to say is a nice retro design of, let's say, taking pieces from the original Z and bringing them into the brand new Z, into the design. That will not only be interesting and exciting with the new 400Z name, but a Nismo version of that retro car boasting 475 to 485 horsepower. Yo, I'm all in. I'm putting a deposit on that if they was to make it. And not only that, give me a 6-speed option, because a Z is for the purist. A Z is for people who like to drive. And if you don't give it a manual option, you're pretty much dismissing the idea of the market, which is purist. That's a purist car. You know, like the purist car right now is the Toyota 86. That's the purist car that people can afford. But Nissan, you can make a car better. Like, your history shows that you can make a purist car bigger than the Toyota, better than the Toyota, more powerful than the Toyota. We just want to see you compete again, Nissan. So, just to kind of wrap up this coffee talk, since I spent most of my time talking about a Z anyway, the Z is coming back, and I don't want to be disappointed. So whatever you have on your comments about the Z, hey, just leave them below. And like always, if you like it, you know, make sure you show your boy support, subscribe, consider subscribing, and God bless.